Hello, fabulous one out there, and welcome to this. I consider it a special edition of Fab Life since we are all in quarantine, the fabulous life of being quarantined. So now, I've already covered movies and fashion, and now I am going to reveal to you my love for this iconic architect. And he is a world renowned architect of a famous and iconic city in the world, and its name is Barcelona, and it is located in Spain. So, and the name of this whimsical architect is none other than Antoni Gaudi. Yes, that is the name of this famous architect. He is an architect of the 19th century, or the fin de siècle, as they called it in France. And he actually was born in somewhere in France, and his family moved to Barcelona. So he is known as the neo-Gothic architect that changed the face of not only architecture but and art as well. So let me read to you guys this Antoni Gaudi. And he was born in June 25, 1852, and was a Catalan architect known as the greatest exponent of Catalan modernism. Gaudi's work have a highly individualized, one-of-a-kind style. Yes, his style is very whimsical and colorful. That's why I love his style. Most are located in Barcelona, and he is truly amazing. Gaudi's work was influenced by his passions in life, architecture, nature, and most of all, religion. He considered every detail of his creations and integrated into his architecture such craft as ceramics, stained glass, wrought ironwork, forging, and carpentry. He also introduced new techniques in the treatment of materials, such as trencadis, which used waste ceramic pieces. So I just love the fact that this architect never wasted anything. Under the influence of neo-Gothic art and Oriental techniques, I love it, Gaudi became part of the Modernista movement, which was reaching its peak in the late 19th century and early 20th centuries. His work transcended mainstream modernism, culminating in an organic style inspired by natural forms. Gaudi rarely drew detailed plans of his works, instead of preparing to create them as three-dimensional scale models and molding the details as he conceived it. Gaudi's work enjoys global popularity and continuing admiration and study by architects. His masterpiece. Mainstream modernism. So, before I talk about his masterpiece, I will leave that for the second segment. But before that, I just want to share to you that the style of Antoni Gaudi was his style was seen in so many movies, and it's been interpreted by other architects who were inspired by him, and you could see them in their modern style right now. I'm not saying that they're copycats, because they're not. They just used a derivative of the style of Gaudi. And even if you watch the movie Casper, the live action movie of Casper, you'll see the style of Gaudi, and it's the haunted house where the ghost lived. And all the style from top to bottom, outside, inside the house was all pure Gaudi. That was the style of Gaudi. And Gaudi was very an eccentric dresser. He was debonair, sharp when he was younger, and he had a lot of artist friends, and one of his artist friends was the great Salvador Dali. And thanks to Dali, because after he died, after Antoni Gaudi died in the 20th century, in the early part of the 20th century, his style started to wane, and everybody said that his style was going out of style, that it didn't look modern anymore, that it looked passé. But then 30, 40 years later, after the war, the great Salvador Dali and a group of friends of his brought out his style again, and they campaigned about it. And now it's considered part of the UNESCO World Heritage. All the buildings that he created for Barcelona, it's part of UNESCO right now. And so it's very sad to hear that once he grew older, he didn't care too much about the way he looked anymore, the way he dressed anymore. And it's funny, as I was reading a part of his history, he also moved to another city away from Barcelona because he experienced they experienced some plague during the day. So as not to be contaminated, he went to another city, and then when the plague disappeared, he returned again. It's funny how he tried to escape death, and yet tragically, in the end, death pursued him. And in the beginning of his career as a successful and much celebrated architect of his time, it wasn't only Spain that celebrated him, but the world celebrated him, in France as well. And he was multitasking, and of course he could not do this by himself. So he had a group of valued friends, a group of trusted friends that he entrusted his projects to be able to multitask. Unfortunately, his engineer architect friends died one by one, and in the end he was left with no one to continue building his artworks, because that's what they are. His buildings are marvelous artworks. So he was left alone by himself, and that, I think, what happened was he lost that luster for life, and he started to slowly degrade deep down inside of him, and he didn't care anymore what he looked like. And in the end, he ended up looking like a homeless person. But he was very religious. He had a strong Catholic background and Catholic faith. And he used to go to Mass every single day. And in one of the days that he went to Mass, looking like a hobo, like a homeless person, after church, as he was going on his way home, he was hit by a 30-passenger tram. Back in the day, there weren't any cars or trucks or any, so they were horse-driven trams. And it was like half train, but it was driven by a horse. Anyhow, he was hit by this tram, and I don't think he died immediately. He was severely injured that he was unconscious. And unfortunately, because he looked like a homeless person, the paramedics of his time didn't really take care of him. And they just allowed him to die basically because they thought that he was a nobody. I mean, it's so sad. This just goes to show you how during that time, the way that they treated people, and this is worthy of an enchanted moment, by the way. And so he died, and after he died, it was when people started to recognize that that homeless person whom they thought, was poor, a poor beggar, was actually the great Antoni Gaudi. And that's how he died. I mean, it's so tragic. It's really sad. And the year that he died was on June 10, 1926. It was truly sad the way he died. And that's it for my first segment of Fab Life. When I return, I will come back with Antoni Gaudi's greatest work, and that greatest work of his is La Sagrada Familia, which is the sacred family. It's a reflection of his love for the Catholic Church. And he created this church while he was poor and struggling, and he was able to build it through donations. So I will come back featuring La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, Antoni Gaudi's greatest work ever. I'll be back, promise.
All right, let's do this 60 seconds or less. We're all in the same situation right now at the same time. But it's only the ones who are doing the work that's going to come out of this thing a whole lot better than what they were before this work. Now, what does that mean, do the work? That means whatever it takes to become physically and mentally stronger every day. You need to be going to bed tired physically and mentally. That's how you know you're doing the work. What do you need to do to work? I don't care. Do whatever it takes. You know what? Do some push-ups. No, don't just do some push-ups. Do some push-ups with some correct form, going all the way down to the ground, not your elbows sticking out. Learn how to do that. I guarantee you learn how to do some push-ups and some squats with correct form, you'll be physically tired and stronger. Learn how to do that. Let's go. Get physically tired, baby. Let's go right now.
Social media. Social media shows network were initiated in 2017. Since then, our founder Maria Pereza never stopped developing a system on social media in building a network of passionate people that loves to entertain. Coach shows.
Welcome back to Fab Life, my fabulous friends. And before I go on with the second segment, I'd like to say hello to you guys that are watching. I'm so humbled that you guys continuously watch my program. And I'm also thankful with the beautiful woman that's behind the camera who tirelessly works for FabLife as well as all the other shows. But as you can see, my beautiful set. Thank you to Maria Purissima. You know, we should fly to Barcelona once it's yeah, in 2027. And thank you. As you can see, for my new set, it's really nice. It's well, it's not nice. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And as you can see, my screen over here and my high-tech table. Oh, I feel like I'm in the set of Tron. I love it. I love it. Well, now I'd like to continue with my celebration of Antoni Gaudi. And now I would like to showcase his most famous artwork, which is the church called La Sagrada Familia, the Sacred Family, and it was part of his love for his faith, for Catholicism. And I know that in the first segment I mentioned the way he died, but I would like to backtrack just a little bit and read this. By the time that the chaplain of the Sagrada Familia, Mosen Gil Pares, recognized him on the following day, Gaudi's condition had deteriorated too severely to benefit from additional treatment. Gaudi died on the 10th of June 1926 at the age of 73 and was buried 2 days later. A large crowd gathered to bid farewell to him in the chapel of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in the crypt of the Sagrada Familia. His gravestone bears this inscription. Well, the inscription is in Latin. So let me read to you first what is in Latin, and then I'm going to translate it in English. So bear with me. It's such a foreign, ancient language. I hope I'm not going to be like Harry Potter here, conjuring some spell and some ancient dragon is going to appear. Okay. Antonius Gaudi Cornet, Reusensis annus natus, and then there's a number. Vitei exemplaris vir eximiusque artifex mirabilis operis hujus templi octor pei obit Barcinoni Dei, and then a number and then the date that he died. Hins sineres tanti hominis resurrectionem mortuorum expectant, RIP. So, translation. Antoni Gaudi Cornet from Reus, where he came from, at the age of 74, a man of exemplary life and an extraordinary craftsman, the author of this marvelous work, the church, died piously in Barcelona on the 10th day of June 1926. Henceforward, the ashes of so great a man await the resurrection of the dead. May he rest in peace. So that is what's written on the script. And one day, by God's grace, we're going to see that. We're going to Barcelona to see all that. So now we are showcasing the church, the Sagrada Familia, and as you see the Sagrada Familia inside and out, like it's shaped in such a bizarre way, like it's so weird and it's so whimsical and something that's gonna blow you out of this water. That you look at it looks like an ancient alien craft from another world. And even if you go inside and take a photograph of the ceiling, it's just amazing. And I'm pretty sure that there's nothing like being there, like being in that church, which incidentally that La Sagrada Familia, they started building that 100 years ago, and I know that they're still building it up to today, and they're still building because of, you know, lack of funds, I'm pretty sure. And now, you know, there's some people who just love the project because they know that it's a labor of love. And not only is it a labor of love, but it's a monument. It would be an outrage. It would be an outrage and a crying shame if they don't finish this building, you know. And perhaps I don't even want to go there. The world's gonna blow up. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't know when the world is gonna blow up. So anyhow, they're saying that this church building will be finished by 2026. But judging with the things that are happening now with the coronavirus and the pandemic going on, it'll probably be finished by 2027 or 2028, and who knows, 2030. Imagine that. 2030. I bet by 2030 it's going to be done, finished, and then we'll be flying out to Barcelona to see that thing. Probably a lot of people will be flying there. So anyhow, as you see these bizarre images, you can see that Antoni Gaudi is inspired by trees, and that's what he wanted you to feel as you enter the cathedral, or I'm sorry, it's not a basilica. The Vatican Church named it a basilica. As you see this basilica and you look up, they look like trees joining together and going out like that. So they're like trees. And also, aside from being inspired by trees, he was also inspired by the, get a load of this, human skeleton. So his architecture was derived from that, from the human skeleton. And here's what so many technical terms to describe the Sagrada Familia. So it's truly something. It's truly a marvelous thing to behold. And I know that when Antoni Gaudi was in the school for architects, he was inspired by not only one form of art. He was inspired by Egyptian architecture, by Chinese architecture, Japanese architecture, and ancient Islamic architecture. There's a part of Spain, you know, because Spain, many the human skeleton, and sometimes use dummies made of wire to test the appropriate posture of the figure he was about to sculpt. In second step, he photographed his models using a mirror system that provided multiple perspectives. Wow. He then made plaster casts of the figures, both of people and animals. On one occasion, he made a donkey stand up so it would not move. Oh my goodness. He modified the proportions of these casts to obtain the figure's desired appearance depending on its place in the church. The higher up, the bigger it would be. Eventually, he sculptured the figures in stone. So there you have it. It's really, it's so amazing. It's something to behold. And also one funny thing, because according to this biography, Antoni Gaudi was known as a very they say like a rude person and kind of standoffish, and amongst his friends he was very polite and friendly. And well, what can you expect? He's an artist, you know. He's flamboyant and he's eccentric. It's what to be expected of an artist. And also one funny thing, when he graduated from the architecture, the school that he went to, the principals and the dean of the school said, "Are we giving this certificate to a madman or a genius?" And then they gave him his certificate. So as soon as he got his certificate, he looked at his friends and said, "You have to congratulate me. I am now an architect." Don't you just love that? I love that. He could be a character in my comedy in Gizi, and most especially with the style of buildings and churches and places and parks that he made. So anyhow, that was it for my featured profile, Antoni Gaudi, of the most iconic city in the world, Barcelona, Spain. And oh, I totally forgot. See, this is where I had a senior moment. Thank you so much, my directoire. You are the angel behind the camera. She's got wings. Oh, she's got horns too. She's a hybrid. Just like a Toyota. Thank you for the reminder. As I go on, there's a little blooper. So before I end this segment, we will show you a video of La Familia Sagrada and how it will look like once it is finished. And then I will say goodbye for another segment. Welcome back to FabLife, and this is the third segment, and this third segment is special because this third segment is the enchanted moment. Enchanted moment. There you go. Welcome to my enchanted moment. And before I proceed for my rant of the day or rant of the century, I would like to say hello to my viewers, to my televiewers once again, and thank you for giving me that vote of confidence. One of them said that I'm celebrity now. Oh well, your lips, your beautiful lips to God's ears. If I become a celebrity, I promise to take you out to dinner. No, I'm just kidding. I'll take you out to dinner even if I'm not a celebrity yet. So anyhow, my director is telling me not to shake the entire set, otherwise there's going to be an earthquake, and the lights above me are gonna fall on top of my head. So anyhow, now I would like to talk about this thing that's happening. I know that there's a pandemic, worldwide pandemic, and a lot of people are getting angry, a lot of people are getting impatient, and there are rallies here and there, and there are fights breaking out in Suez, and they became the incubus of viral plague, and it scattered around. Anyhow, there are a lot of Asians being attacked for this, and just to let you know, of course, it's not an excuse to start attacking Chinese people, because that's not good either, because the people that got sick in China, I mean, it's really not, what do you call this? We really cannot point the finger on them or blame them. You know, people do things, unfortunately, out of ignorance sometimes, and they start eating things that they're not supposed to. But anyhow, there's been an increase in Asian attacks, and a lot of Asians, you know, are getting hurt, injured, and some of them even, you know, were shot dead, and even innocent children are shot dead. So recently, yes, it's all evil forces behind those who pull the trigger. And unfortunately, there was a famous newscaster, Lisa Ling is her name, and somebody said that she should apologize for her people. Well, first of all, I don't think that Lisa Ling was born and raised in China. She's very Americanized, so she was born here. So please don't blame the Chinese people that were already born and raised here and are Americanized or Europeanized, you know, whichever part of the world they're from. And just to let you know that we Asians are not from China. Asia is not a country, it's a continent, and it consists of several nations that are very different from one another. They're very different from one another. They have their own language, and they have their own currency. See, I'm teaching a lesson right now, and there is North Asia and there is Southeast Asia. The difference between North and South is that the lighter skinned Asians, the white complexion Asians are from the north, and they are the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, and the Taiwanese. The people that are above them, oh, they're actually red. They're from Mongolia. So, and the people down below them, Southeast Asia, are the Pacific Islanding or Islander Asians. So that consists of the Philippines, and that would be me, and the beautiful lady behind the camera, and Indonesia, and Vietnam, and Thailand, and Singapore, and Borneo, and Brunei. Okay, so that's only the tip of the iceberg. And then, in terms of religion, in the North Asian countries, they're Buddhist. And in the South, majority are, believe it or not, Muslims. They're into Islam. And the only Christian Catholic nation in Southeast Asia is, ta-da, the Philippines. Anyhow, the reason why I'm telling you this is that we Asians are not Chinese. And so it really bothers me to hear about a person pointing to a Filipino and say, oh, you brought the coronavirus here. No, he's not Chinese, he's something else. Oh, you brought the coronavirus here. That guy is actually from Indonesia. It's got nothing to do. It came from China, but still it's not an excuse to start attacking people and killing them. My purpose for this is just to show you that we should be, creatures of love. We should just love each other and just, not hold each other's hands, because now we're practicing social distancing. Even me, you see, I'm so far away from the camera. So, and from the only thing that I'm close to is this beautiful table right here. But anyhow, that was my enchanted moment of the day. Let's not hate. Let's love one another. Love one another. And I'll probably get a lot of flack for this, but the only thing that I could tell my critics is bless your heart. That's the only thing that I could tell you. And that was it for another fabulous episode. And I don't know what my director is looking for. It seems like she's lost something. That was another beautiful episode of Fab Life. I hope that you enjoyed my featured profile celebrity, and I consider him a celebrity, the architect from the 19th century who comes from the iconic city, and he's an icon as well, Barcelona, Spain. And I would advise you to do more of an in-depth research on Antoni Gaudi. I just read him, just Google him and see what comes out, and just look at all the YouTube videos of La Sagrada Familia and about the city of Barcelona, and about its food, its culture, its people, and everything. So I'm only the start. I am a platform to this additional knowledge. If you don't already know Antoni Gaudi, or if you don't already know that Barcelona is actually in Spain. And there you have it, fabulous people, my fabulous friends. And don't forget that your most important fashion accessory is your self-confidence. Chowder, I'll be back next week. Promise.